I'm here at FreedomFest and doing a bunch of conversations with people about things like values and ethics and respect in general. I'm very lucky here. I have Dr. Shannon Kroner. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Tell me a little bit about your organization and what you're doing.
So my organization, it's called Freedom of Religion United Solutions. The acronym is For Us.
For Us, I love that.
And we were established in 2019. I began building a coalition of faith leaders throughout the nation.
Right before COVID?
Before COVID.
Wow.
I'm from California. We have the strictest vaccine laws in the nation. However,
New York, we're right there with you. That's debatable, but fine.
So we're equal in the strictest vaccine laws.
I don't know if that's good. We're equal in badness. I'm not sure that's good, but anyway.
So in 2019, there was a bill that passed called SB 276, which took away our medical exemptions.
Yes.
And when that happened, I felt that I needed to take this fight to a bigger level.
Right.
And I created my organization and started to build a coalition of all these different faith leaders. So I've been uniting, since 2019, I've been uniting faith leaders. So I work with pastors, rabbis, imams, monks, everything.
Well, California is crazy diverse.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of different
but
people
we have
who are
them
thinking
throughout the whole
faith.
nation.
Is that right?
We're working with faith leaders throughout the whole nation, and some of them are even, around the world to protect the religious freedom of vaccine choice.
Got it. Wow. Well, the timing couldn't have been better, huh?
Yeah, we've actually, because we were established in 2019, then COVID hit in 2020, and we were already set to go to help people with their religious exemptions. So we've helped thousands upon thousands of people get religious exemptions to keep their jobs, to stay in school.
Sure.
So
absolutely, that's great. Well, you're here in FreedomFest, and this conversation I'm trying to come up with here is not to change how you might feel about whether you're more progressive or whether you're more conservative or where you might be. That really is what I want to discuss today. I want to talk more about I'll show you here, your ethics. Okay. Right? Most people will lean either more left or lean more right. Most people will. But the question is, are you more about coercion and getting people to do what you like, or are you more about persuasion and giving people a bit more respect, is what we're talking about today. So I want to ask a crazy question. I think no matter what you might think, whether you think that vaccines are good or vaccines are bad or religion is an important part of your life or not so important, all people want to be happy. I mean, you'd agree with that,
Definitely.
Right?
Yes.
I think that's true. And I think that with that in mind, something as crazy as when someone commits harm upon you, physical violence, hurts you, somehow harms you physically, it's going to make you less happy.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's going to happen. You're going to be less happy, right? I think that happens always, right?
Definitely.
And the other thing, though, is if someone somehow either steals some of your property through theft or through fraud or vandalizes your property or something, that's going to make somebody unhappy too, right?
Right.
Every time. But I guess the question I have here is, you and I agree. We're here at FreedomFest.
Yes.
We get that. But are we alone? In other words, does everybody think that's true, or us, or is that normal for everyone to say, you know what, if I am harmed or if I'm defrauded or if something's stolen from me, I'm going to be less happy? Is that universal?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I think a lot of that, though, comes with growth. I think that people need to have room to grow and change perspectives. Mm-hmm. Like the quadrant that you have there, you say, there's Democrat, Republican, there's sometimes people in the middle.
Yep.
For me personally, I was a hardcore Democrat for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And then in 2015, when we lost our religious exemptions and our personal belief exemptions, and it was a totally left-leaning, across the board, like all of the Democrats voted in favor of taking those away, was when I then was like, wait, I'm part of that party that doesn't believe in the same things that I believe in regards to my personal choices. And so I left the Democrat Party at that point.
So you were a Democrat. You were a practicing Christian?
No, I'm actually Jewish.
Practicing. You're practicing.
But I wasn't very religious at that time. So.
But today you practice.
I work with so many faith leaders. It's such a great question because I get asked that a lot.
Yep.
I work with so many pastors, and I go to their churches, and so I really embrace everything because I work with a lot of rabbis, and I go to their temples.
Sure.
And it's because of the work that I do, the nature of the work that I do. I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions, but
So
I
could
enjoy
I call you
it.
a practicing faith leader?
Sure. I mean, I'm actually right now I'm working on becoming a minister of interfaith, an interfaith minister.
Okay.
So
there we go. I like
yeah.
that. It's great. Reminds me of chaplains when I was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I've worked with chaplains
Yes,
as well.
chaplains are always by default interfaith.
Yeah, here's
They're by default.
something about the chaplains that I've worked with, because I've been helping a lot of the military with all their religious exemptions and the
100%.
mandates. Even chaplains who have submitted religious exemptions have had their religious exemptions denied.
The chaplain.
The chaplains in our military.
Wow.
That's just a little tidbit in there.
Wow.
But we can go back to what you're talking
That's
about.
crazy. No, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So you're someone who cares tremendously about faith, even if it isn't your own faith.
Oh, definitely. Well, I care about freedom.
Right.
I care about our First Amendment. And yes, I definitely do care a lot about faith. I think that everyone needs to believe in a higher power.
Sure.
Whether it's God or Jesus or Allah or whoever it is, or just a creator in
Sure.
itself. I think that helps with our conscience, maybe.
Okay. So if I hear what you're saying even if it may not be your religion, you respect them all anyway.
100%.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is,
as long as they're a good person. It's about being a good person. It's about being respectful. It's about...
what if you're not a good person? Does not a good person still deserve respect? Are we still there to respect the person who's not a good person?
Okay, so my background, my doctorate is in psychology.
Okay.
And so, yes, I want to say that being a good person deserves respect.
Okay.
Right? When I look at people who do bad things,
yep.
which I 100% do not support,
right.
Let's say we're talking about somebody who is a pedophile.
Sure.
Something like that. Some terrible, horrible thing.
You went right down to the worst, didn't you? Okay.
Oh, that's the worst thing I could think of.
You couldn't have thought about stole some bread or something? You had to go there. Okay, it's fine, whatever. We'll go there.
We'll go to because that's the worst thing I could possibly think of.
You went down to the worst, okay.
If you really want to pick that person apart, it's very likely that they had a horrible upbringing. It's very likely that they were molested as a child.
That's statistically true.
And which then created their own dark and terrible deeds. Mm-hmm. Were they born into the world as a newborn baby? I don't think that there's any single newborn baby that's born into the world as a bad person wanting to do bad things. I think all of that is learned behavior from...
So am I hearing that even someone's a bad person deserves some respect?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's no black and white answer to that. It's no yes or no. I mean, respect. I mean, I still think that some of the worst people need to be in jail, Yeah. They need to be in jail. Do they need to be respected while they're in jail? I suppose they need to be fed, right?
So even someone who's in jail because they're a bad person,
these are hard questions,
who should never get out, should still have basic human respect even in prison.
I would say that.
Is that true?
I would say that.
Okay. So maybe in prison, but still respect in prison.
They should be in prison. They should be,
locked away so they can't be around kids.
Exactly. Locked away, can't be around kids, will never, maybe not even see the light of day, but they still should be fed or allowed to shower or something,
Okay. No, I get it. Okay. So we are still down to some human respect. I like that. That's good. So, but even that person, or anybody, if I get it right, one, if we have a situation to where someone is harmed, they're less happy. They're stolen or defrauded, they're less happy. And we know that everybody at least wants it or believes it could be true. So I feel like it's kind of a principle that if people are either harmed or stolen from, there's going to be less happiness, less harmony, and less prosperity.
Yes. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, yeah. I mean, people are going to be angry if something gets stolen from me. I'll be angry and upset about it.
Right. So if we were to respect people more and say, you know what, I don't want to take this person's stuff because things will be worse for me and for them, and maybe both. right? Maybe both. I think we'd have a better world than if that
Yeah,
regard.
I mean, it's kind of how I look at things in my own life. Like,
Right.
if I've had things stolen from me before, and as angry as I've gotten, there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe that person needed it more than I did.
Sure.
We don't take our possessions with us when we die. So, I've actually, it was a year ago, I actually had jewelry stolen from me from someone who was working for me.
Wow.
And she was definitely worse off than I was, and I kind of always look at it like, well,
Well, let me
maybe
ask you
she
a question
needed the
on this.
money. So
If she had asked you for help, would you have said yes?
yes, and I had helped her.
So did she feel like she couldn't ask you again?
I think that it was an opportunity that
Got it.
she saw an opportunity and took it. And unfortunately, she lost her job as a
course.
result of
Yep.
it. But, in the grand scheme of things, I think to myself, well, she made her decision. There were consequences. However, maybe she needed whatever, what she stole
Sure.
from me, because maybe she was in a crisis situation and she needed it more than I did. Do I harbor anger about it? Yeah, that was definitely something
Of course, you're human.
that upset me, and it's still to this day it bothers me. But
Absolutely.
I think that everybody will be judged in the end after they're not on this earth anymore.
So let me go down to that need piece if I could. There are a lot of people who think, you know what we need? We need universal health care. A lot of people believe that. But hey, look, you gotta have it. You can't survive without it, you need it. With that in mind, would it be okay for, say, right now, Democratic Party is more aggressive on this, for the Democratic Party to, if there was a vote, to say, hey, we're gonna now make universal health care. I mean, those
I
people
don't
are in
think-
crisis, right? They feel they're in crisis.
Right.
They feel they need it. Would that be acceptable to you if, say, Democrats were to say, hey, you know what? We had a vote, we're going to make universal health care, and we're all going to pay for it?
No, so I don't think that anything should be forced across the board.
No, okay.
So I don't think that because one group of people believe that everybody needs something, there's not one group that speaks for me.
Got it.
And I don't think that there should be any one group that speaks for everyone as a whole, because everybody has their own situations. Everybody has their own needs and wants, and there isn't really a group, whether it's a religious group or a political
There is
group.
some empathy, isn't there? I mean, I feel it in you. There's empathy. Like you do understand how they feel.
Yes.
So then how would that manifest itself, right? If someone comes to you and says, but wait a minute, Dr. Shannon, we need this. How can you not give us the thing that we
Right.
need? We're in crisis. Doesn't that make you feel bad or want to change your mind or make an exception to that rule?
I mean, I think that there should be variables to it all. If somebody needs something, then our government should be able to provide that. But I may not necessarily need exactly what that is,
But how does government provide it without getting your taxpayer dollars? Without getting your consent in a way? How does the government do that?
I mean, these are hard questions.
Yes.
They're good questions. I don't know. I mean, I really don't even know how to answer that question because.
But wouldn't you feel like you were being stolen from or defrauded?
Yeah, definitely.
So in reality, it makes less happiness.
So I understand. Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, I understand that some people do need that.
Right.
There are others that don't want to pay for what other people need, you
Right.
know? And so, yeah, I mean, what you're saying totally makes sense because others will feel like they're being stolen from to give to those that, if they don't need it themselves. I mean, the way I look at it is like mandated vaccines type of a thing, right? The Biden administration, he had mandated the vaccine for, all businesses and things like that. Not everybody wanted to get vaccinated.
Sure.
And as a result, so many people were losing their jobs.
New York State has a nursing crisis because of it.
There you go.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yes.
So, I don't think that there is any one rule that applies to everyone.
Got it.
And we can say that with like so many political issues going on today.
Let's walk down another one then, if we could.
Okay.
What about if there was a vote and the government says, you know what, we're going to punish all businesses who hire undocumented workers. If you hire an undocumented worker, we're going to punish you either by a fine or a fee or maybe even jail time. If you do it enough times, we're going to put someone in jail, we're going to fine that person or punish that person. Something like that. Would there be an exception for that? Or would you be okay with that?
Okay, so that's actually a great question. I like this question because I think that if there are businesses that are hiring undocumented workers, then I believe that the rule should be that the business is going to help that person become a citizen.
Okay.
So they can hire an undocumented worker with the contingency that, like, you may not have your papers right now, but if you're going to work for me, I'm going to help you. And it's a long, crazy process, but I'm going to help you.
But what if there is no process? What if there's no way to do it? In other words, there's no law. The undocumented worker is undocumented. They have to go back to wherever they came from. There's no way to make that person become a citizen. Doesn't exist.
So I'm in California, where we have a lot of undocumented workers.
I know, I'm in New York, us too. Us too. New York City is a sanctuary city.
Yeah, well, so I'm in Los Angeles.
Sanctuary city.
And so, so I know that there are papers to be filed in order for that person to become documented. Mm-hmm. If the person refuses to...
But the documentation, if I understand how it works in New York at least, is it's not federally recognized. It's recognized locally.
Okay.
So New York City actually creates its own IDs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So New York City is a sanctuary city. It creates its own IDs. That's not recognized by the federal government.
Wow. Wow, that's so interesting. So, I mean, I'm not totally sure how it works in California, but I do know businesses that have hired undocumented workers based on that if you're going to work for me and you're going to be undocumented, we are going to help you become a citizen. Well, if you don't want to become a citizen, then you're not going to be able to work.
Let me cover two parts here. Is there an argument that says, wait a minute, why is the government involved in this at all? This is just a business getting the cheapest labor they can get because they're a business and they care about business, so let them be. And then isn't the other side that says, wait a minute, there's American workers who need jobs. Why aren't we hiring Americans?
Yeah.
Don't we have two sides to that issue
there are.
Or that argument?
Everything here, there's such a gray area with all of this. I do see and believe that there are Americans who need jobs and are losing jobs because they're going to the person that will take less money.
Yep.
And that's a really terrible situation. The homeless crisis right now in California, it's even hard to describe how bad the homeless situation has become.
Sure.
And I think a lot of that is because people are not able to afford living because they're not able to get jobs that they normally would have been able to get. I mean, and we're talking about something even like, for instance, like painters,
Sure.
Construction workers, house painters, things like that. It's much easier to hire someone who is undocumented.
Absolutely.
There are people who are undocumented standing outside of like Home Depot.
100%.
And so
let me then ask this question. Is it okay for government to set those rules on this? For government to say, hey, we're going to punish you if you hire these undocumented workers. You can't do it. Send them back home, whatever. Is that something that's okay? I mean, they're physically undocumented. They shouldn't be here, right? Legally.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of tend to agree. I want to
So that whole idea of human respect is still here, isn't it? Even with someone who is a criminal, even with someone who is an undocumented
worker. Yeah, because
worker.
they're here for a better life, and that's the thing.
They're trying to be happy.
Right.
And so is a business owner. So government, yet again, stepping in, using its coercion, kind of saying we're making more people unhappy and having less harmony and less prosperity, I think, for everybody.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's...
So this kind of is a principle that I think is really holding true.
Yeah, and I don't think people really think about it that much these days.
I think you're right. They just jump on, I'm on the left, or I'm on the right, or I'm correct, or you're wrong, or whatever.
I mean, that's what it is all the time.
Right.
And that's what I deal with that all the time with the vaccine issue. I'm right, you're wrong.
Right, absolutely.
And then I'm the one saying, well, wait, hold on. Your argument is not across the board.
So maybe there's less and less exceptions to this principle.
Well, I think that America's become extremely polarized.
Yes.
And that's what, and it's getting even more polarized.
Yep.
Every day we've become more polarized, more divided.
But let me go down the road you brought up. You went down a road of pedophile.
Oh, God.
Right? It's your fault, not mine. Yes. So, yes. So if I'm going to go down that road, everything that pedophile is doing, I disagree with completely.
100%.
But even if that person's in prison, I would still give them respect as a prisoner, right? They're still being in prison. They still get food and water. They still get treated as a human being, right? Even that. An undocumented worker, whether I agree with them being here or not, I'm going to give them human respect. People who agree to getting a vaccine or disagree, I'm going to give them respect.
Right.
People who are Muslim, people who are Jewish, people who are Christian, I'm going to give them respect.
Right.
Everyone's going to be happier. There's going to be more harmony. There's going to be more prosperity if we stick with that principle of human respect. Am I wrong?
No, actually, I agree with that.
There we go. I appreciate that. And if we had more conversations like this, I think we'd have less worries about being divided, because we could be divided but still respect each other.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with that. And I think that, but with respect comes responsibility
100%.
Of, doing the right thing, being a good person, not being a bad person, not doing bad things.
Not hurting people and taking their things.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
I appreciate that. That's great. Thank you for the conversation. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was a great conversation.
Good.
Lots of good questions.
Good talking
Thank you
to
so much.
All righty. Thanks.
Thank you.